Hey folks, it's me, Up Skatch, and I am here talking with
Brent Disbrow, campaign lead at Relic Entertainment.
And you guys are making Warhammer Dawn of War 3.
Yes.
Warhammer 40k.
Warhammer 40k, that's
Gotta
right.
get the 40k.
It's all sci-fi, no fantasy.
Alright, let me start off by asking, I'm going to ask two simple questions right off the bat.
Sure.
If you're a fan of Dawn of War, what do you have to look forward to in Dawn of War 3?
You get to look forward to the awesome secret sauce mixture of the Dawn of War 1's base building and large-scale combat, huge armies clashing on the battlefield, and the mixture of Dawn of War 2 heroes as well. So put those two things together, add a bunch of new mechanics, and you've got a really cool new opportunity for spectacular battles, where players have a lot of agency in terms of the flow of battle, moment-to-moment stuff.
All right, let's flip that around.
Yeah.
I've never played a Dawn of War game. What do I have to look forward to in Dawn of War 3?
You can look forward to a great science fiction spectacle where massive battles between armies of orcs and Eldar, which are space elves, and space marines, fighting on a mysterious planet of Acheron over a mysterious superweapon, a mythical superweapon, which in a universe where survivals depend on who has effectively the biggest gun, there's going to be a real fight for this super weapon. But when they find it, they're going to find something else that's a terrible new threat.
And for those that don't know, Dawn of War, or Warhammer 40k kind of mixes that fantasy, sci-fi very deftly. So like you brought up the Space Marines, but these are your normal Space Marines, right?
No.
We're talking zealots and real kind of hardcore kind of guys.
Yeah.
So is that kind of represented throughout the game? Do you guys inject it with all of that beautiful 40k lore?
Absolutely. The Blood Ravens is a chapter that Relic Entertainment created, and so there are representatives of the Space Marines. The Space Marines are genetically enhanced super soldiers, which sounds really cool, right? But in a lot of ways, they're also they can be seen as religious zealots, right? The Emperor kind of governs over all the Space Marines. He sacrifices 1,000 citizens a day to stay alive, right? So it's a universe full of grays, right? There's no good guys and bad guys. And with the Space Marines, with the Blood Ravens in particular, and Gabriel Angelos as the hero at the forefront, I think we've got a nice entry point for players to come in and sort of say, hey, these are really cool characters. And then when we shift over perspectives to the orcs or to the Eldar, we can see that they have a totally different outlook on the stuff that the Space Marines have done. And so in our campaign, we kind of interweave these perspectives. So Mission 1 is Space Marines, Mission 2 is Orcs, Mission 3 is Eldar. So something you did in Mission 1 pays off in Mission 2, and you get a different set of impressions of the outcome of that.
Is it difficult, speaking of the fact that this is a franchise, is it difficult to kind of create that game that's going to both appeal to existing player base and keep them entertained and wanting more, while at the same time trying to bring new players into the fold and expose them to this beautiful world?
Yeah, absolutely. We'd be remiss in saying that real-time strategy games don't have quite a perceived barrier to entry. Mm-hmm. They tend to look like they require a lot of skill to play. And so one of the things we're doing for new players is we're saying, well, two things. One, we're trying to ease them into the mechanics of the real-time strategy genre. So over probably the first third of the campaign is us layering new complexity in over and over. So players can sort of ease into the game, and by the time they get to the campaign mission that you saw a demo excerpt of, they'll feel really comfortable. The other thing we're doing is, because of the way we're doing the stories, we're doing more focused stories. So Gabriel Angelos, he's sort of the voice of the Space Marines in our story. And he has a set of goals and motivations that we hope are going to be very relatable to players. So there won't be sort of a wall of lore sort of saying, hey, you have to read all these Warhammer 40k things before you can even play the game. It's sort of like, here's a nice entry point where these motivations and goals of the characters, and there's one for each race, a main character for each race. Hopefully that'll come across and people will look at it and say, yeah, I get it. I identify with that guy, or identify with that woman, or do you know what I mean? And there'd be a point that we can hook them and pull them along in the campaign.
Now, you talked a little. A lot of this has been geared towards the single player.
Yeah.
Now, what about the multiplayer? Like, how do you balance something like 3 different, very different factions? Orcs and Space Marines, and even the Eldar, which are the elves. The Space elves, which are all vastly different. How do you balance those? Especially. In a sci-fi setting where you have guns, but yet, what's a Space Marine without a chain gun, right? Or a
chain sword.
Yeah, the
right?
chain swords,
yeah.
right? So how do you balance all this?
A lot of iteration. We've been playing multiplayer for the last year and a half, and the stuff we're building for multiplayer, I think people are being very happy with, but we're iterating on it every day. And part of that iteration is sort of, we go and play and that unit was crazy strong. That felt unfair. Let's change it up. Okay, let's play it again. And that's the kind of moment-to-moment iteration that we need to do to balance out those races. They all have different play styles, and what we want to make sure, as much as possible, before launch, is that everybody's reasonably balanced. But that's always kind of an ongoing effort, even beyond ship.
So
we'll probably be balancing.
Community as far
absolutely. Yeah, because we've got a great community. It's very vocal. We've learned a lot from them in terms of what they want, in terms of what they'd like to see, and I think it'd be crazy for us to ignore that.
Sure.
So we're going to pay a lot of attention to that feedback once we release, and we're hoping to get some of that community input before we release as well.
There's been a lot of focus too about bringing back the base building.
Yeah.
So go into that a little bit. What was the decision to kind of go back to that more traditional RTS style of building your base up, setting your units out?
Well, you know what? We wanted to do spectacular battles with lots of units on the battlefield. In order to do that, we wanted players to be able to choose which units they fielded. And in order to do that, we needed bases. So the base building gives the player the mechanics to sort of say, okay, at this point, I want to choose to send out tactical Marines. All right, it's further along in the match. Let's set out some Devastators and put them in heavy cover at these points so they can hold those points, and maybe some Assault Marines to jump into enemy cover and chainsword them from within the cover where they thought they were safe. So it's up to the player to sort of take that, create their own mixture of line units and the elites to kind of foster a gameplay style that they can really own.
Now I know I don't want to date because I know we probably can't do that. But when can we look at it? Are we looking like later this year, next year, 2017? What are we getting into?
Yeah, we're looking at 2017 for PC.
For PC.
Yeah.
Awesome. And your name one more time for everybody out there.
Sure, it's Brent Disbrow. I'm the campaign lead at Relic Entertainment.
Thank you so much for talking with me today, Brent.
Thank
I really
you.
appreciate it.
I appreciate you coming by. That's awesome.